afternoon, everyone. Good morning for most of you, unless you're down under, and then it'll be good evening. Anyway, it's 1 p.m. here in the UK. In about an hour and a half, the Karen Reid trial is starting. So we've got a hard stop on this. Karen Reid. That's another case where there's been huge injustices. So I'll be following the Karen Reid trial very closely. It's only jury selection, so not going to watch it like religiously until the trial starts proper. So I don't know how long it's going to take them to seat a jury. Anyhow, welcome everybody. And in this live stream, we're going through the latest court filing on the Delphi case. So this came out yesterday, but I was too tired last night to do a late night live stream, so I thought I'd leave it till today. I know Defence Diaries have covered it. I've watched a little bit of that. I'm about halfway through their live stream. I don't know who else has covered it, but I'm going to cover it. Let's say a few hellos, though. I know some people don't like this part, but if you're watching it on the replay, you can always just, fast forward for a couple of minutes. Hello, RZTV, Michelle. It does get worse practically every day. It absolutely does. And this is bad. This is really bad. Unindicted co-conspirator. Been Nurse Nancy lately, couldn't listen. Heard the filings are beyond dreadful. It's just bad. I mean, do we expect anything else in this case? Do we? Really? I don't know. Jennifer, will these girls ever get justice? It seems a long way away, doesn't it? It really does seem a long way away. But we've got less than a month to wait now for the trial. Jury selection in this case starts on May 13th. But we won't see justice or injustice in action because good old Francis is refusing cameras. So there'll be no cameras in court unless she changes her mind. They could do. She doesn't want, external companies to come in with cameras. She could always set up a live stream in the courtroom that she could be in control of. She could always do that. Like happened in Koberger's case. Like the judge wasn't happy with the camera zooming in on Koberger and catching him in, strange poses and whatever. So the judge said, look, I still want cameras in my courtroom, but I'm going to be in control of them. And I'm going to use the court's live stream. So that's what he's doing. And it's fine. I mean, the audio's a little bit worse than it would have been, but it's still fine. I'd be happy with that. That's happening in Chad Daybell's trial, isn't it? The court are live streaming it. So she can always do that. What kind of mic do I have? It's a Yeti Nano, I think. It's one of the Yeti ones, but it's a small one. I think it's called a Nano. Hello, Twisted, Holy Grands, the punchline. I'm still waiting for a punchline in this case, honestly. It's an absolute joke. Screaming inside. I think we're all screaming inside. Hello, Cammy. Yeah, please do put a like. Put a like on the live. It just helps with the algorithm. It's not to massage my ego. It just boosts the video a little bit. YouTube understands likes and it knows that people are enjoying it, so they'll push it out to more people. Catherine, Blissful in Essence, Rebecca, ASMR, Tingle Pink, CW, afternoon, 24. Oh no, I read that as 24. 2 Arctic Wolves, Lindsay, Jean, Helen, hello Helen, Laurie, can't say your name because you've got one of them strange fonts, but hello anyway. All right, hello everyone coming in. Like the Cup Yeti. No, it's like it looks like a normal microphone, but it's a bit smaller than the standard Yeti. I'm not an expert in microphones, so I buy a new microphone when they're on special offer on Amazon. I've got to tell you. Thought you got more algorithm points at the end of the live. Oh, I don't know when you get algorithm points, but just like the stream anyway. I'm sure it will help. Whether it helps right now or whether it helps at the end, I've no idea. It may help both ways. All right, so let's make a start. So this is written by Andrew Baldwin. Of course, we have Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie, who are the two attorneys for Richard Allen, and they're doing a grand job. I mean, not everybody thinks so, but they're doing a grand job. So much so that they had to be disqualified last October. Slicky Nicky got nervous. All right, so this is a motion to suppress the accused second statement. So it looks like, and this is all new to us because we've never heard anything about Richard Allen's interviews that he had, and we've even got some text, of what was actually said. There's even some quotes in here. So this is all new. This is all really interesting. So he had two police interviews. He had one on the 13th of October, 2022, and then one on the 26th of October. And it was the 2022 interview that he got arrested at. And it's that one that they want suppressing. All right. Comes now the accused, Richard Allen, by and through counsel, moves this court to suppress all statements from his October 26, 2022 interrogation at the hands of law enforcement Jerry Holman, who is from the Indiana State Police, who failed to read Rick Allen his Miranda rights while yelling and swearing at Rick Allen, lying to Rick Allen, and attempting to intimidate Rick Allen behind a closed door in a tiny interrogation room at the Lafayette Police Post. Additionally, a key portion of the videotaped interrogation provided to the defense is missing. Well, we've heard that story before, haven't we? We've got Dan Dullard, who in February 2017, when Rick Allen came forward and said, look, I was on the trails, where the day the girls were murdered. Dan Dullard took a statement, swears down that he recorded all of the things he did, but can't find this recording, but he'll keep looking. So that's missing. Then we've got all of those recordings that are missing from Delphi Police Department because they claim that their new system gave them some problems and decided to re-record over stuff, and they lost Brad Holder's interview. They also lost a whole bunch. They lost like 70 days worth of recordings, not just from this case, but presumably any case that they were interviewing people. So yeah, how convenient. Exactly, Momo Shark. How convenient. So there is a missing portion to this interview as well. In support of said motion, the accused states the following. So, first interrogation. They don't want this one suppressed, and they make that clear, but they've given us some really interesting details about it anyway. Because they did everything right in this interview, believe it or not. They did everything right, so they don't want this one suppressing. First interrogation. Law enforcement officers requested Rick Allen to appear at the Delphi police station to answer questions, and on October 13th, 2022, Allen voluntarily went to the station and sat down with police, thinking he was assisting them in solving the Delphi murders, since he had been on the trails earlier on the day that the victims disappeared. So that's, of course, February 13th, 2017, and then the girls were found on the 14th. Rick wanted to help out in any way he could, and that is clear in this video. The video was previously provided to the court on September 18th, 2023. The October 26th, That should be 2022. Andrew Baldwin doesn't proofread. So the October 26, 2022 interview is being sent to the court overnight via certified mail for the court's review. Okay, so this is pertaining to the first interrogation, which they don't want suppressed, and they did nothing wrong in this one. So this was October 13th at Delphi Police Department. And the two officers that interviewed Rick Allen on that day were Tony Liggett and Steve Mullin. So at the time the murders took place, Tony Liggett was the lead detective. But shortly after Rick was arrested, he was appointed as sheriff. He won the sheriff race. But he was still a detective at this point. He wasn't a sheriff. And Steve Mullin, who at the time of the murders was the chief of police in Delphi. I don't know what he was in 2022. I know what he is now. He now works with Slicky Nicky in the prosecutor's office as an investigator. No, he wasn't under arrest, but he was under caution. Look, in my country, we call it under caution. So if you go into the police station just to give a statement on something or to complain about something, then they don't have to read you the right. You know, you're just talking to them. You know, if you, I don't know, they take a statement from you. If you're a witness to something, then you go into an interview room, but they don't need to read you your rights. However, if you go in there and they make accusatory statements towards you, if you're a suspect, right, even if they've not told you you're a suspect, you are being interviewed under caution. And in my country, that's what they call it. And they read you the rights that they need to if you're being interviewed under caution. Like, they've got to tell you being interviewed under caution. They have to tell you that you're entitled to legal representation, that you don't need to say anything, blah, blah, blah. But you're still not under arrest. You're only under arrest when they actually say the words, "You are under arrest." But if you're interviewed under caution, they've got to read you your rights. It doesn't matter if you're not under arrest. And it's the same in the US. They might not call it being interviewed under caution, but it's the same thing. All right. Okay, Rick was read his Miranda rights and signed an advertisement of rights form. All right, so this is exactly what should happen. He's not under arrest. He's being interviewed, in my words, under caution, and as such, they read him his rights. That's exactly what should happen. And then you sign a paper with your rights on. They talk it through. If there's anything you don't understand, they can explain it to you. And everybody's on the same page. It's all above board. So they've done nothing wrong here. Liggett and Mullin have done nothing wrong, which is normal protocol for law enforcement before an interrogation begins. For the first roughly 3/4 of the interview, it's apparent from the interview Rick believed he was assisting the police in their investigation and search for those that murdered the victims in the Delphi case. However, eventually it became obvious that Liggett and Mullin were actually pointing the finger at Rick Allen as the killer. At one point in the interview, Rick said, "I don't want to be somebody's fall guy, and we're going to try to make pieces of a puzzle fit somewhere. They don't fit, so we can close this thing." I love Rick. I'm not saying you guys, please don't think I'm questioning your integrity. That's not what I'm saying. So he's recognizing that they're trying to fit him up. He's recognizing as early as October 13th. Now, on October 13th, that was when they took his car. They searched his house. So he knew something odd was going down, but he agreed to be interviewed by them because, well, why not? He wanted to help. And if they needed to rule him out for, whatever, if they needed to take his vehicle and search his house to rule him out, then he was happy for that to happen. We don't know that he killed anybody. I love his attitude in this interview. That's what I love. I love his attitude. But you can't say that he killed 2 little girls, because aren't people in your country the same as mine, innocent till proven guilty in a court of law? Yeah, I thought that's what standard we set ourselves. Okay, in democratic countries, in free countries, that's the standard that we set ourselves. All right. However, when Liggett and Mullin amped up the intensity of their questioning, even positioning their bodies closer to Rick, so they moved in, Rick said the following: "It's over. I was perfectly fine. I was cooperating. I was going to give you my phone. And then, when you started reading all those documents, that's here's my thing is, I feel like you guys think I've done this, so I'm done. You do what you need to do. It's your job. I understand that, but you better fucking leave my reputation out of it. So you do what you need to do. And then, like I said, when you do find this guy, I'll expect the apology." Yay! Good on him. Good on him. This, to me, sounds like an innocent man. Slightly cocky. I'd like to see this interview. Maybe one day we will see this interview. Maybe one day, maybe. I'd like to see his body language. But the words that he's saying don't sound like a guilty man to me. Somebody who can be cocky like that, especially somebody who's never been in trouble with the law before. Like, you can be as guilty as sin and really cocky if you're used to evading the police, if you're used to police interviews, if you know the law, you can be cocky like that. But in this instance, it's interesting. It's interesting. Rick then described how police were trying to ruin his reputation by accusing him of the murders in public, even groping him as they patted him down in the street. Rick was expressing that the mere act of mentioning his name as the possible killer or patting him down on a public street as if he were a criminal would ruin his reputation and was greatly upsetting. Liggett and Mullin did read Rick Allen his Miranda rights before they began their interrogation. And additionally, Rick Allen was aware that he had the freedom of movement as he ultimately stood up and walked out of the interrogation room. As would I. As would I. It's exactly what I would have done. Actually, as soon as that conversation became accusatory, that would be me gone. I would be like, you either arrest me, and if you're going to arrest me, then I want my lawyer, or I'm going to leave. So that's just the way it rolls around here. However, at the end of the interview, that turned into an aggressive interrogation. Rick made it clear that he no longer wanted to talk to law enforcement. Within hours of the first interrogation, Liggett drafted an affidavit for search warrant. Judge Diener then signed the warrant to search Rick's home and vehicle. Oh, I thought they'd interview. Okay. So I thought they'd done it the other way around. I thought they'd gone to his house, asked to search his house, and then took him in for questioning. But obviously they did it the other way around. So they got him off the street. They requested that he comes to Delphi Police Department for an interview. And then when he said he was done, then they got a search warrant. Okay. That actually makes more sense. Okay. On that day, Rick Allen's vehicle was also seized. The defense will not be seeking this first interrogation to be suppressed. No, because there's no reason to suppress it, because they did nothing wrong, right? They were interviewing him under caution. They read him his rights. He knew his rights. And at the end of the day, when he got uncomfortable, he chose to leave. They got a search warrant to search his stuff. Now, we know that they possibly lied to get that warrant. We know that. That's why they want a Franks hearing. However, we get to the second interrogation. So, on October 13th, Kathy Allen, Rick's wife, and Rick asked the state police when they could pick up their vehicle that had been seized. So they seized the vehicle and they said, when can we pick this up? You know, can we get it back? They were told that they could pick it up in a couple of days. Okay. On October 17th, either Kathy or Rick contacted the state police to determine how and when they could get their vehicle back that had been seized, as they were in need of that vehicle, as Kathy and Rick were having difficulty sharing only one vehicle as they worked in two different places and needed two vehicles. All right. So I don't know where Kathy worked at that time, but we know that Rick worked at the CVS store in Delphi. So not too far away. So Rick could have walked to work, really, in a couple of miles. Anyhow, after a few phone calls with state police, finally, on October 26th, Rick and Kathy were scheduled to arrive at the state police post in West Lafayette at 9 a.m. to pick up their vehicle. Right, so the first interview was at Delphi Police Station. So we've got to make this very clear. To go and pick up their vehicle, they were told they needed to go to Lafayette, to the Indiana State Police Post. So two different law enforcement departments, two different agencies completely. And this was a ruse to get Rick. This was a ruse to get Rick to go voluntarily and basically hand himself in. He thought, however, that he was going to pick up his vehicle. Kathy went with him, obviously, because if they take the vehicle home, they're going to need someone to drive that, aren't they? Obviously. So Kathy was there to drive one of the vehicles back. That's what they thought was happening. However, it became very clear that the cops thought something very different. So, on October 26th, Rick Allen drove with Kathy to the West Lafayette police post to retrieve their vehicle that had been seized 13 days earlier. State police told Rick and Kathy that upon arrival, their car would be released, but never mentioned anything about additional questioning. So they're sitting there at the Indiana State Police, you know, waiting to collect their vehicle, not thinking that anything's wrong, you know, like, all right, okay, he was questioned. They've got what they needed to get. We're getting our vehicle back now. No problem. Life's just going to go on as normal. But no, nothing could be further from the truth. When Rick and Kathy arrived at the station, Holman met them at the front and said he just had a few things he wanted to clear up before he released the vehicle. Okay. So Kathy is just, so they take Rick away. Right. Oh, before we release the car, we've just got a few things to clear up with you. All right. Well, that's a lie. So Kathy, presumably, is just sitting there waiting, thinking, all right, maybe they just need to clear up a couple of loose ends. Kathy sat there. If I'd have been Kathy sat there waiting, I'd have had my lawyer on the phone. Okay. Holman requested Rick follow him to the interrogation room without Kathy. Rick complied. That was his mistake. I wouldn't have complied. They'd have had to arrest me there and then. I'd have said no. No. Last time, I'm here to pick up my vehicle. Last time, when I was at Delphi 13 days ago, you know, they got shitty with me and think I'm a killer. So if you think I'm a killer, you better arrest me. But if you're going to arrest me, I want my lawyer. That's what I would have said. However, Rick's obviously a nicer guy than I am. Kathy was not allowed to participate in the questioning. She was told she could wait in the lobby. So she was waiting there for hours. Rick arrived with Holman into the interview room. However, for unknown reasons, the video provided to the defense is missing the beginning portion of the interview, when procedural matters are typically handled by law enforcement, such as the reading of Miranda rights and confirming with the suspect that he's free to leave, if in fact the suspect is free to leave. So that whole portion of the interview is just missing. In this case, either A, the camera was only turned on after they, Holman and Rick, were already minutes into the interview, because the video provided to the defense does not show Holman and Rick entering the room, sitting down and beginning the interrogation. Or B, the camera was recording the entire time, but the beginning of the interview was later edited out before being turned over to the defense in February of 2024. So the defense hadn't seen this until February. So from October 2022, when Rick was arrested, well, let's call it November, mid-November, when Brad Rosey and Andrew Baldwin were brought onto the case. So they've had from November 2022 all the way to February 2024 to turn these interviews over to the defense. Now, they obviously had these interviews because they were done. This was the day that Rick Allen was arrested. So they got this, hadn't they? But they only bothered to turn it over to the defense in February of 2024, which is crazy to me. Maybe they'd lost it. Maybe they found it down the side of the couch. Either way, the beginning of the interview or the interaction between Holman and Rick in the interrogation room, when introductions are typically made and Miranda rights are always reviewed, is missing. In the 70-plus years of experience between co-counsels, this is highly unusual, especially on a high-profile case of this nature. Yes, it's unheard of. Right? If that happened in my country, it would be just as big a deal as surely it is in the US. Listen, do you remember the Chad Doman case? Chad Doman, the absolute lowlife who shot his 3 sons. It was June 15th of last year. Shot his 3 sons. Confessed to it. There's 2 eyewitnesses to it. His wife and his stepdaughter both witnessed it. The wife, trying to save the sons, got shot in the hand. She was trying to drag one of the sons away, and he shot her in the hand. And then the stepdaughter ran for help to the fire department down the road. So we know he did it. However, on the day he was arrested, sitting there calmly on his doorstep, he was arrested, taken to the station for an interview, and guess what? They didn't read his Miranda rights. So this happened in, when was this? In March, last month. A Claremont County judge ruled police violated the rights of a man accused of killing his 3 sons in June 2023. Chad Doman was indicted on 21 counts in Claremont County Court, including 9 counts of aggravated murder last summer. Judge Richard Ferenc ruled on Friday that the Claremont County Sheriff's Office violated his rights twice when it failed to advise him of his Miranda rights before interrogating him, and when detectives continued to question him after he said he wanted an attorney. So even though this dude is clearly guilty, and there's 2 eyewitnesses, he's still constitutionally innocent, and due process has to occur all the way through, or else we'd be living in anarchy. We might as well just go back to the Middle Ages, and the rule of law can be just haphazard. It could be just ridden roughshod over when the judge or the police feel that they can. All right, no. We're living supposedly in enlightened times when everybody, even if they are clearly factually guilty, the due process of law has to take place. Even when someone is under arrest, they have to be read their rights. And if they want an attorney, questioning stops. It's the case in my country like it is in the US. Indiana is no different. I'm sorry, Indiana doesn't have this prestige status where the law and the justice system can ride roughshod over people. No. Doesn't work like that. However, the defense has not been provided with any report explaining this missing part of the video. Isabel, Odin took control of the technology in the police station. Yes. Yeah, not according to Gull. No, she does what she wants. To make matters more suspicious, Holman claims his November 1st, 2022 report memorializing his October 26 interrogation of Rick Allen the following. So he says the following: I asked Mr. Allen if he remembered the other detectives reading him his Miranda rights, and he said yes. I told him he was free to go at any time and that the door was unlocked. So Holman presumably thought that that was the reading of the rights. That, oh, do you remember from 2 weeks ago from the other detectives? Well, you know, same thing applies. You can go if you want. No. No. Look. If it was the same police department, the same detectives, let's say, for example, he was interviewed on October 13th, and then they said, all right, would you come back tomorrow? Let's all calm down. Would you come back tomorrow? If he agreed, so he went to the same police department, the same room with the same detectives. If they'd have said, now you remember yesterday when we read you your rights? Yeah, well, same applies today. I would be okay with that. I mean, it's ideally, in an ideal world, you should be read your rights and sign those rights, you know, sign that you understand those rights every single time you're interviewed. But if they just kind of, you know, were a little bit more informal, but it was the same detectives, it was the same police department, I could maybe forgive them. But no, this is a different agency, different police station, and different interrogator. This is why they want this interview suppressed. And by suppressed, we mean that it can't be brought up by the state at trial. That's what we mean. For those who are not clear what suppression means, they want this basically, you know, thrown out so the state can't use it at the trial. You can be questioned without being read Miranda, even in Mississippi. If you're questioned, if you're under interrogation, if they're accusing you of crimes, you have to be read your rights. If that's not happening, I don't know what I want to tell you. If it's just an interview, like you're a witness or you're going complaining about something, then they don't read you your rights. It's only when you're there as a suspect, as the accused. But they don't have to even use the words if it's accusatory. Then I'm sorry, you can argue it. You can argue it till you're blue in the face. But look, I'm quite sure if you were in this position, you'd want to be read your rights. I hope you would anyway. I hope you would. All right. Okay. Holman's report doesn't identify who the other investigators are that purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. Well, we can establish perhaps it was Liggett and Mullin, but anyway. Holman's report doesn't detail when or where or how these purported investigators purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. We assume it was the 13th at Delphi Police Department, but we can only make that assumption. Holman's words quoted in paragraph 23 above appear nowhere on the video. In other words, Holman is not shown asking Rick Allen about his rights, nor is Holman viewed telling Rick Allen that he's free to leave. So this is only what Holman has put in his report. But because there is no video, we've only got Holman's word that he said, oh, well, if you remember those other detectives, they read you Miranda rights and, you understand that and you're free to go at any time. We've only got Jerry Holman's word for that because it's not anywhere on the video because the first portion of the video is missing. So maybe, just maybe, those first few minutes of that video is missing because Holman didn't say that. Maybe he didn't say that at all. Maybe he just shoved Rick in a room and didn't say you're free to leave. Didn't say, I'm interviewing you, but you've got the same rights as you had on the 13th when my colleagues in Delphi interviewed you. Maybe he didn't say that. Maybe he just wrote that in his report. He knew he couldn't get away with saying that he'd read the rights because if he'd actually read the rights, then there would be a form that Rick would have signed. So he knew he couldn't go that far. So he just put that bunch of shit there. Maybe that's why that first portion of the video is missing. Okay. In his report, Holman indicates that those words were stated to Rick Allen at the very beginning of the interview, but the beginning of the interview is missing. The defence has diligently searched through the discovery for any Miranda waiver of rights form signed by Rick Allen on October 26, 2022. The defence has found none. No, because his rights weren't read. Therefore, you're not going to find a form. The defence has diligently searched through the discovery for any reports by state troopers who were on duty that day, such as Jay Harper and David Vido, who would have potentially read Ricky's Miranda rights on October 26. The defence has found no such reports. Just as Brad Holder's February 17th, 2017 interview is missing, just as the mimicked crime scene found on Holder's social media page is missing and still not been turned over to the defence, but the defence thankfully located it in Georgia. And just as Rick's original tape statement to Dan Dullard in front of a grocery store in February 2017 is missing, the beginning portion of Holman's interview with Rick Allen is also missing. So these guys seem to have a problem with video and following the law. Dear. The defence has diligently searched through the discovery for audio or video by any law enforcement from October 26, 2022, in which it can be seen or heard that Rick Allen was read his Miranda rights or told he was free to leave. The defence has found none. Therefore, at this time, it appears to the defence that Jerry Holman's claims in his report that Rick Allen was asked about his Miranda rights and told he was free to leave are false, and that key video evidence that would prove it is also missing. Bit of a recurring pattern. It is. Absolutely. Absolutely, Helen. Absolutely. All right. The following are true and accurate depictions of what occurred at Allen's October 26, 2022 interrogation, as shown on the videotape of said interrogation that was not missing or deleted, but was actually provided to the defense. On video, Holman never read Rick Allen his Miranda rights, nor mentioned them to Rick Allen. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room without windows. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room and Holman shut the door. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room with Jerry Holman whilst the door was shut. Well, I think that's very clear. A considerable size difference existed between Rick Allen and Jerry Holman. A power differential existed as Holman was a state trooper in his home court, Lafayette Police Post, while Rick Allen was a CVS worker from Delphi who had only driven to West Lafayette to pick up a vehicle he and his wife needed for transportation. Rick Allen was never told that he was being videotaped. You see, they should have done that. You know, this interview is being recorded and we're on video. Cameras there. That's what they should say. When Jerry Holman would leave the room, he told Rick Allen to sit tight at 9:25 and 44:20 marks, or hang on 1 second at the 16:40 mark. In other words, Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that he could not leave. I mean, it's implied, you know, just stay there. I'll be back. Doesn't exactly say you cannot leave, though. When Jerry Holman would leave the room and tell Rick to sit tight, he, Holman, would shut the door. Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen during the interrogation several times, including the following. Now, look, they are allowed to lie. They are allowed to lie. So he's technically not doing anything wrong here. We might feel it's unethical, but cops are allowed to lie, unless the law's different in Indiana. The law might be different in Indiana. I don't think it is, though. At the 7:10 mark, Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that we have experts that say you're on the bridge and that it's your voice on the video. Well, I'd like to know what these experts are, who they are, because there's no evidence that supports this statement. Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen. 15:25, Holman told Rick that experts are saying that it's you on the video, and experts are saying you said down the hill. Like to know who these experts are, because we don't know what they are. Maybe they'll bring some experts out at trial who can make it all clear for us. I don't know, but there's no evidence that supports this statement. 15:07, Holman tells Rick that witnesses saw a gun in his pocket. There's no evidence that anyone claims to have seen a gun in Rick's pocket. Holman lied to Rick Allen. I've never heard anybody, any witness, anybody who spoke to any witness who said they saw a gun in his pocket. At 39:05, Holman states, I'm not lying to you about anything. Everything I'm telling you is fact. The expert said, he said you go down the hill. Holman was lying to Rick about many things and not everything Holman told Rick was a fact. At 42:33, Holman said, I'm not lying to you, Rick. That's unethical. But guys, to be fair, they are allowed to lie. Like, if you get interviewed by the cops, just remember they are allowed to lie, and they will lie. So it might be unethical, but they are allowed. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview, just clearing up a few things. That's what Holman said, allegedly, to Rick Allen, that he just wanted to clear up a few things. Well, clearing up's one way to put it. The prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you, lock you up, and throw away the key. Jerry Holman barked at Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview. If you don't tell me, you're going down for this. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview, do you realize the death penalty is on the table for this? Well, death penalty has not been mentioned. So, okay. At various times, Jerry Holman yelled at Rick Allen, including using profanity-laced language while accusing Rick of the murders. Rick asked Holman to stop the interview. Rick said, I'm done, early into the interrogation at the 12:05 mark. But Holman continued his interrogation. Well, at that point, he should have just got up and left. He should have just said, I'm done. See you later. He should. He really should. Or he should just sat there and said, look, I want my lawyer. Arrest me. If you don't want me to leave right now, arrest me. But he didn't. He carried on. The state police never turned over the vehicle to Kathy Allen after Rick was arrested. Returning the vehicle to Rick and Kathy was merely a subterfuge to get Rick to the police post to be interrogated. The law. All right, you guys, here's the law. Here's the law. The Indiana Supreme Court dealt with a very similar fact pattern in State versus ER in 2019, which reversed the Indiana Appellate Court, holding that ER's constitutional rights had been violated, therefore suppressing his statements. In State versus ER, the accused had voluntarily driven to the police station at the request of the police to answer questions concerning an allegation of inappropriate touching. In this case, Allen voluntarily arrived at the police station to pick up a vehicle, but unlike ER, Allen was unaware that he would be asked questions only once he arrived at Lafayette Police Post. The following occurred when ER was interrogated compared to when Rick Allen was interrogated. ER was interrogated in a small windowless room. Rick Allen was interrogated in a small windowless room. Law enforcement officers failed to provide Miranda warnings to ER. Video shows that Holman failed to provide Rick Allen his Miranda warnings, and there's no form. So if it was, if his rights had been read, let's just imagine his rights had been read, but Holman had forgot to turn the video on, or I don't know, the video malfunctioned and it just missed off the first few minutes. But he had actually read his rights, then there would be a form. There would be a form in the discovery with the Miranda rights with Rick Allen's signature on it, and the date would be October 26, 2022. So we know those rights were not read. Multiple times, law enforcement told ER to sit tight. On multiple occasions, Holman told Rick Allen to sit tight when Holman, would leave the interrogation room. In ER's interrogation, law enforcement actually told ER that he was able to walk out of the interrogation room door if he wanted. ER was also told that he did not have to even talk to law enforcement if he didn't want to. Still, the Indiana Supreme Court found that even with those particular statements by law enforcement to ER, it was not enough to cause ER feel free to leave. Contrast ER's interrogation with Rick Allen's interrogation. On video, Jerry Holman never told Rick Allen that he was free to leave, nor did Jerry Holman ever tell Rick he did not have to talk to law enforcement. He might say that, he might have said that in his report that he wrote on November 1st, but it's not on the video. Therefore, no evidence of it didn't happen. Thank you, RZ, for the $1. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. In ER, the police significantly undercut any initial message of freedom when they dramatically changed the interrogation atmosphere when a second officer entered the room and became more aggressive. Although there was only one officer involved, Holman, that officer started the interrogation in a much calmer manner before amping up the intensity, ultimately erupting with cursing and yelling at Rick Allen. The officers did not tell ER that he wasn't under arrest. Holman never told Rick Allen he wasn't under arrest. In fact, when Rick Allen continually denied having anything to do with the murders, as well as words to the effect that Holman had made up in his mind, so go ahead and arrest me, Holman never told Rick, you are not under arrest. Police never told ER that he would end the interrogation at any time. Holman never told Rick that he could end the interrogation at any time. Officers repeatedly told ER to explain what happened, coaxing him to tell us now so that we know that you're being honest with us and not lying. Holman repeatedly told Rick Allen to explain what happened and attempted to coax Rick Allen to talk to him for a variety of reasons. In ER, the officers were explicit that they believed ER had engaged in the accused conduct, and their questions were accusatory, not exploratory. Throughout the interrogation, Holman explicitly told Rick Allen that he, the prosecutor, and other law enforcement officers all believed that Rick Allen had engaged in the accused conduct, murder. And Holman's questions throughout the entire interrogation were accusatory, not exploratory. Included in the videotaped interrogation are the following exchanges. These are good. That highlight the accusatory, not exploratory nature of Holman's interrogation with Rick Allen. Jerry Holman, you're going to drag your fucking wife and your daughter through this because you're too fucking bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit you made a mistake. Admit you made a mistake. What? A double homicide's now a mistake. Okay. And whatever the fuck happened out there, we'll never fucking know because you're too big of a fucking something. I don't know. Add your own word in there. Jerry Holman. The evidence clearly indicates you are involved in this. Rick, no. It fucking does. It doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders. And I'm telling you that we had this fucking round on February 14th, 2017, and that it's been secured in a fucking laboratory, and we've tested the other guns. You could have taken it from somewhere else then, because it's not possible. This is starting to sound like an innocent man. I did not take it from somewhere else. It was logged in. It was taken. It was photographed. Well, there's problems with the photography and the chain of custody of that unspent round. We talked about that plenty on this channel and over on MichelleAfterDark as well. You think we fucking took her round and threw it down by a dead girl's foot? This ain't fucking TV. This is realistic. I'm telling you. I can't explain something that. And I'm telling you that fucking analysts explain it. You can't get past this. Well, let's talk about chain of custody then, shall we, Jerry? All right, next exchange. Jerry Holman. I'm not on video, neither am I. 4 or 5 witnesses didn't see me out there. Me either. My round out of my gun wasn't 6 inches away from a dead girl. Mine neither. That's good. That's good. He kept his head. He kept his head. I don't think you're a bad person. Oh, they always use that one. F-bombs mean facts in this chat, yeah. They always use, don't fall for this. If a cop says, I don't think you're a bad person. Yeah. Yeah, it's trying to get on your good side. What kind of good person kills two people? All right, Rick, you're going to pay. I love this. I love this. You're going to pay for what you've done to my wife. You want to fuck with me? Fuck with me. But you leave my wife out of this. Fuck! Leave me out of this. No, you're involved in this. Your fucking round is there, Rick. No, it's not. Finally, you're guilty of something. You're guilty, and I know it. And I'm going to fucking prove it. Well, aren't you meant to have proved it before you arrest? You're not just going to arrest someone and throw them into a maximum security prison if you're just guilty of something. You're just guilty of something. We know you are, and we're going to fucking prove it. No. You've got to provide your proof before you make the arrest, or else it's unlawful. Jesus Christ. Jesus, Mary, and all the flaming saints aren't going to save this one. Seriously. All right, we're back to comparing the case of ER with the case of Rick Allen. Police questioning of ER was prolonged, lasting almost an hour. I wouldn't call an interview almost an hour prolonged, but anyway, the questioning was sustained and relatively drawn out, especially compared to roadside traffic stop questioning. So I don't know, presumably this guy was stopped at a traffic stop, and then they accused him of inappropriate touching. I don't know. I don't know the case. I haven't read the case. Holman's questioning of Rick Allen was nearly 3 times longer than law enforcement questioned ER. Holman's prolonged questioning lasted 2 hours and 41 minutes. Of course, that represents the length of the questioning that was actually videotaped. Since there is missing videotape, the entire length of the questioning is unknown. They could have had him there for an hour before they decided to turn the video on. The questioning was sustained and drawn out over that time, especially when compared to roadside traffic stop questioning. All right. The officers continued the interrogation of ER past the time he was supposed to pick up his daughter. Rick went to the station to pick up his vehicle, but Holman never mentioned anything about where or how Rick or his wife were to pick up the car. No, because it was a ruse. At the conclusion of the interrogation, ER was allowed to leave and return home. The fact is mentioned in the Court of Appeal's opinion, but not in the Supreme Court opinion. Rick Allen was not free to leave, as he was handcuffed and arrested on camera after over 2 hours and 40 minutes of denying involvement in the murders. So after the 2 hours and 41 minutes and plus whatever wasn't recorded, they slapped the cuffs on him and arrested him. Remember, he'd never had his rights read. So he was arrested without having his rights read, because there's no Miranda rights form that was signed on October 26, 2022. They arrested him without reading his rights. In my opinion, that's an unlawful arrest, but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. Make of that what you will. How would you like to be arrested and thrown into jail, and then a few days after that, taken to a maximum security prison where you're held without trial for how long is it now? Like 18 months? How would you like that? And they've not even read you your rights before that arrest. Would you consider that unlawful? I would. And they didn't even know that he was guilty of anything specific at the time of that arrest, because Jerry Holman said it himself. He said, "You're guilty of something. I know it." So they arrested him for murder without reading his rights, without actually knowing that he did any of the murders. All they have is that unspent round. That's all they've got. I think this, to me, proves that's all they've got. So we've got potentially unlawful arrest. We've got potentially devastating conditions that he's been kept in. All under the "you're guilty of something, I know it" standard of law that Jerry Holman seems to apply. Wow. The facts involving Holman's handling of Rick Allen's interrogation are more egregious than those facts in ER in several ways. For example, the Indiana Supreme Court found that ER's constitutional rights had been violated, even when ER had been allowed to leave the police station. While in the case at hand, Holman knew the entire time that he was interrogating Rick Allen, and at the end of the interview that he would be arresting Rick, as Rick did not make any statements to Holman that were not already known. The entire interview was Holman accusing and Rick denying. Thank you, Wood Chipper, for the swear jar. Yeah, thank you for the $2. Law enforcement clearly knew ahead of Rick Allen's interrogation that they would be arresting Allen for the murders. However, rather than arrest Rick Allen at his home or work or after pulling him over, Holman waited until he had one more opportunity to interrogate Rick Allen without reading him his Miranda rights, and arrested him without reading his rights. Wow. Absolutely terrible. Holman knew that Rick had walked out of the October 13th, 2022 interrogation with Mullen and Liggett, and therefore it was unlikely that Rick would answer any more questions with Holman unless Rick felt he was not allowed to leave. I agree with this. I think this is exactly what they did. They knew that unless they, put him on the spot and basically forced him, that they weren't going to be able to interrogate him. I would have just said, "You can do what you want. You can do what you want to me in this little room, but I'm telling you, I want my lawyer. And I'm not saying a word. I'm going to sit here, and unless you give me a lawyer, I'm saying nothing." But we're all wise in the benefit of hindsight, aren't we? So Miranda would be a nuisance that would likely cause Rick to walk out on Holman the way that Rick walked out on Liggett and Mullen. If so, Holman would not be able to secure a confession that he clearly wanted to secure on his own. Yeah, Holman wanted to be the hero. According to State versus ER, a defendant is required to show by a preponderance of the evidence that he was subjected to custodial interrogation. The videotaped interrogation of Rick Allen shows by the preponderance of the evidence that Rick Allen was subjected to a custodial interrogation. Yeah, he was. He was accused. He was sworn at. If he tried to leave, what would have happened? Probably what happened in the end anyway. He would have been arrested, but without reading his rights. Additionally, the defendant is required to allege custodial interrogation in the absence of Miranda warnings. The videotaped interrogation of Rick Allen shows that Holman did not provide Rick Allen with Miranda warnings and then subjected Rick Allen to a custodial interrogation. Furthermore, ER is required to point to some evidence that his statements were made in violation of his constitutional rights. The videotape statement of Rick Allen provides a whole host of evidence, as detailed herein, that statements made by Rick Allen on the day in question violated both his state and federal constitutional rights against self-incrimination. Wherefore, the accused, Rick Allen, requests this court to suppress all statements made by Rick Allen at his October 26, 2022 interrogation, and to issue a finding that Jerry Holman and the state police violated Rick Allen's constitutional rights. So what do you think the outcome of this is going to be, boys and girls? If they admitted nothing, then what are they suppressing? They're suppressing the entire interview, because they violated his constitutional rights. They've been continually violating his constitutional rights for the last 18 months. This is just the latest in a long line. This is the first time he had his constitutional rights just wiped all over by the Indiana State Police. It's just the latest one we've heard of. Thank you, Purple AJ, for the $20. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's going to be deny, 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 deny. Deny. But yeah, absolutely, the world is watching. We see you. We see you. But it's less than a month now. Less than a month till the trial. So we're not going to be seeing that trial, though. All we're going to have justice, or probably injustice, done in the dark. And the only people who are going to report on it are journalists or people who've managed to get into that court, which has got very limited seating. And I bet you any money she doesn't even allow reporters to tweet while they're in there, because normally what she does in her court, she doesn't allow phones in her court. She doesn't allow phones or laptops or anything like that in her courtroom. So I bet you any money that they're not even allowed to tweet. So we're not even going to be able to sit here and hear what's going on, you know, step by step. Because usually when, you know, when cameras aren't allowed in, reporters are still allowed to report from the courtroom. But I bet you any money in this case, we're only going to hear updates at breaks. And then there'll be like a lunchtime report. And that'll be it. There'll be reporters running out to do like a 5-minute segment while there's a break in the proceedings, like the morning and afternoon break. And then there'll be lunchtime. And then we'll get to know the day as the day's finished. So justice, or more likely injustice in this case, will be done in the dark. And Gull apparently was one of the judges who supported Indiana bringing cameras into their courtrooms, because Indiana has held out. You know, it's not a state where cameras have been allowed. And apparently she was one of the judges who supported bringing them in. Maybe she's changed her mind. I don't know. Maybe she's changed her mind. Yeah, hope we get justice for Abby and Libby the right way. Absolutely. And if Richard Allen is the guy, then he needs to be convicted in a fair trial, because a trial that isn't fair gives him grounds to appeal and appeal and appeal. And what does that do to the families. It drags them through years of appeal courts. It just drags it on. And if he's not the guy, then they need to find the right guy or guys. Because convicting the wrong guy is injustice in anybody's book. I mean, and if he's the wrong guy and he's acquitted, well, he's got to pick up the pieces of his life, but at least he's out of it. But then where does the case go then? Where does the case go then? They've made the law in Indiana has just made a huge set of mistakes in this case. And it just, if he's not the guy and he's acquitted, then there's somebody or bodies out there who've got away with it. And most probably there will never be justice, because are they going to start again? Are they going to start again with a new set of suspects? I can't see it. I can't see it, especially given that if it's the ordinists, it seems that they're being protected from on high. That's what it seems like. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's what it seems like. So there'll never be justice. Never be justice. And if he's the right guy and he's acquitted, well, he's got away with double murder. But if he's the right guy and he's acquitted, it's because the state didn't have enough evidence or didn't present that evidence enough to convince a jury beyond its burden. The state has the burden of proof. And if the state can't fulfill that burden, then the jury have to say not guilty, and that defendant has to be acquitted, because that's how the law works. Whichever way it is, it seems to me there's going to be an injustice for Abby and Libby. It seems to me. Because Richard Allen he's got grounds for appeals until the cows come home. Even before the trial, he's got grounds for appeals because of the way that this case has been handled and the way he's been treated. He's got grounds for appeal. So justice, even though the trial is less than a month away now, justice seems very far away for those two girls, Abigail Williams and Liberty German. It seems like it's so very far away. And that is so sad, given that the families waited like nearly 6 years for an arrest. And then the last 18 months have just been, I don't know how they're coping. I genuinely don't know how the families are coping with the absolute farce that this has become. I don't know how they've coped with it. But here on this channel and over on Michelle After Dark, we're going to carry on following this to the bitter end, of Alan's trial, and then potentially beyond. We'll see what happens after that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. If you're interested in the Karen Reid case, then let me just show you this one. If you're interested in the Karen Reid case, then in about 15 minutes' time, the trial is due to start with jury selection. I don't think this is the one with the schedule on it. I had the trial schedule earlier on. Hold on. Where is it? Here it is. Boston.com. So here is the, what are you giving me? I don't want that. All right. So if you're interested in the Karen Reid case, then the schedule is as follows. So full days in court Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then half days in the mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I don't know what happens in the afternoon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know whether the judge sees other cases or she just has those afternoons off. But that's the trial schedule. Full days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then half days, Tuesday and Thursday. And 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right now, today, is when jury selection, jury empanelment is due to begin at Norfolk Superior Court. So I'm going to bid you farewell. And if you're interested in Karen Reid and you're interested in me covering Karen Reid, then let me know, because it's a case that I've been following. It's an intriguing case. If you don't know very much about it, intriguing case. Karen Reid has been accused of the murder of her boyfriend, who is a Boston cop, John O'Keefe, accused of his murder by running him over while she was drunk. But the defense, the pre-trial hearings have been fascinating. The defense is really rallying. The defense has got a lot of evidence, and they're putting together a third-party guilt defense. So it's exactly like this one. The defense has laid out their case. They've said exactly who they believe actually murdered John O'Keefe and set up Karen Reid for the fall. So it's not dissimilar to this case in the way that the pre-trial has gone, other than the judge in Karen's case, Judge Beverly Cannon, has been... She's been favouring the state, she has, but she has been fair, and she certainly hasn't tried to disqualify the attorneys or, you know, Karen Reid is out on bail. She's not been in a maximum security prison for the last 18 months. You know, she's been out on bail. So, yeah, there are some big differences in the way that this case has gone pre-trial than the Delphi case, but the trials themselves, in the way that the defense is working, is quite similar. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. All right, guys. Hi, everyone. Better late than never. Well, I'm going now. I'm gonna go and watch the Karen Reid trial. But thank you all. Thank you all for joining me. And if you're just coming in, then rewind it back and watch it on the replay. Nighty night, darlings. Well, so what is it? 18 minutes past 2 in the afternoon for me. All right, so thank you. When will she rule on this? When she feels like it. Momo Shark, you know Francis by now. When she feels like it. Or maybe never. Or maybe never. I don't know. All right, guys. Thanks for the donations, and I will see you soon. Thanks to the mods. Enjoy the rest of your day. I may see you in a chat somewhere if you're following Karen Reid. Bye, guys.